So, Glass House DC, we are here with Bill Johnson with his new line Transient. We also here with Shaka King, New York.
Retrofuturism is like the twist on the clothing line. So I fuse I'm very big in the vintage, as you can see. So I fuse the vintage into like my forecast of the future. That's retrofuturism was born. I wore a lot of vintage clothing, and so that was like the influence on my style as I started to progress and get older. When I decided to get into men's fashion design, it was just kind of like a love for men's fashion, and then I come from like a background of owning a women's shoe boutique with my ex-wife, and then we closed it, and after that I said, you know, there's a need for more fashion-forward things for men in this area. So then that was kind of like the catalyst. The whole idea behind the line Transient, retrofuturism, fusing the past with the future, is just because I'm a pretty forward thinker. So I'm always trying to make things fresher than they are, and then dipping back into my history of a youth and having dabbles into vintage. I just kind of fuse it all together to come up with the Transient thing.
Alright, my line is actually started out as a company as Shaka King Menswear, and I just saw a need for men's clothing. And I'm tall and big, and I always had the same issue with sleeves being up to here, and that just annoyed me. So I just decided to make my own line. My inspiration has always been the 50s is a main influence, but the 20s, the 30s, the 40s, and the 50s. And over the years, I've kind of added, well, kind of like the 60s too, but I started adding some 70s in there.
My background is interior design and furniture design. I also teach furniture design at Howard University.
Me, I produce everything myself. Not everything, but I'm a graduate of Pratt Institute out of New York. I'm originally from Miami, Florida.
So I'm still in the whole interior furniture world. Heavy, so I'm really not trying to take on another job of sewing.
I recently just started doing women's jewelry from found objects and vintage buttons and things like that. And I do have a line of wraps that I do. That I do some unisex and then I do some women's specific. So that's Shaka King Menswear. I guess my customer base is.
That's always an issue, DC being so conservative. But what I'm trying to do also is create the clothes in a way that you will feel comfortable wearing it to work, even if you have that very conservative government job. But then when you leave work, you still feel comfortable going to hang out.
Right.
So I'm trying to find that happy medium between the conservatism and your wild side.
30s to like 50 plus, but I do sell a lot. I mean, I have sold and I do sell to like 20-somethings mostly, 26, 27, a professional young man.
I have somewhat of a following already.
Okay.
Because of the way that I dress when I go out. A lot of people are already like, oh man, I love that, where you get that leather coat, where you get them pants, that's hot.
That's how I found out about just because
right.
I saw something had on
right.
at a party.
So the good thing is that I already have a following because I'm an artist. Most of the people I associate with come from the art community. So you know, DC got this underground art scene going on where you could be at the Fela party and then you go to another party, ain't nobody ever heard of Fela.
Right.
So because people like us, we're fortunate enough to be on that underground scene, we're dealing with versatile people more often than not.
So why did I come to DC? I came here doing trunk shows. It all started with me just doing some accessories, and I had a friend that worked for BET, who moved up to New York.
Okay.
And he was wearing something. He was like, oh, come to BET, you can sell your scarves and your knit caps,
right.
Which I did. And I had other friends who I would come hang out for the weekend, but it would always be a holiday weekend. And then you'd have a bunch, and they always had a lot of people at their house. And I was just amazed one night, like 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning, I made like $4,000. And I was like, wow. Wait a minute, there's something to this. Because they would be like, you didn't bring it, the first time they said to me, you didn't bring any clothes. And I was like, no, because I came to visit. But they had always been to my Brooklyn studio. So eventually, because I had created a business plan and I looked at target markets, and DC was one of them, I started looking at it a little differently. And then I started just having trunk shows, and eventually the people here started saying, when are you going to open something, or why don't you open something?
Okay.
So, the average cat that goes to certain clubs, I won't call no names, in DC, he ain't my market anyway.
Right.
So, but it is kind of tough. A lot of people tell me I should be in New York, or I should be in Seattle, Washington, or somewhere else. But we're going to make it happen here.
Okay.
And I'm going to take it global.
And I was frustrated with New York.
Okay.
Just financially could not afford to open it. The money it would have taken me to be open 5 years in DC would have probably cost me to gut a place.
Right.
To pay for the dumpsters and get all the permits and all of that. So I figured I'd give it a shot. I took out a 5-year lease, 3-year option, and I went back and forth. But I had friends here I could stay with them, which I did, and I was open limited from Thursday to Sunday.
Okay.
Once I got here, I must say, DC worked out fine, and the area that I was in, I got walked through traffic, and so all of that did work out good for me. I started becoming disenchanted over the years. It wasn't so much with the established customer, it was just the way the people chose to shop. The whole, what kind of discount I'm going to get, that constant discount thing, you're black, we black, so you need to, but at the same time, I shop at Prada, I shop at Gucci, and I'm thinking,
Black
okay,
people
well,
always want a discount from somebody that they know personally. So.
when you're going to Gucci and Prada, you don't walk in the door and look at the black salesperson and say, what kind of discount you're going to give me.
Right.
If there's a black salesperson,
Right.
and 9 times out of 10, you're not looking for them to help you, you're going to the white person, so you're not asking for discounts.
Right.
So that became a bit disenchanting.
If you want to be a very fashion-forward designer, then you should just design more for females in DC. Even from the little young girls in high school, I noticed be wearing 2 different socks and stuff like that. Their mindset already at a young age is fashion-forwardness, whereas men are trained to be more conservative. Most guys are not going to wear outlandish stuff because they're afraid of what their peers are going to say. So the female fashion scene, and having owned a shoe boutique for 8 years on U Street makes a difference too. So I have, a good insight on what women want in this area. It's not an issue, but for me, I'm only interested in doing mostly custom for women. I want to be a menswear designer, but I'm not ruling out designing for women, so I'm definitely open to doing custom. Just did a custom suit for a lady already. So it's a good market, I would say.
I would say the same for women here are pretty much the same like everywhere else. I mean, unlike New York where it's in your face 24/7, the sisters that come out, they have a fashion game and they bring that to the table. And I specifically say sisters because they, to me, are the most adventurous outside of Asian women. I see the Asian women here being a lot calmer than in New York. So the sisters go for it all the time. Maybe, well, I lived in Brooklyn, so I can't even say it's more of a Afrocentric aesthetic because I'm so accustomed to it from Brooklyn. And it's impossible for us to avoid it. It's just in our DNA to like certain prints and colors and tones and things like that, ironically.
I think it's a lack of knowledge also. You know what I'm saying? A lot of people who don't grow up knowing that you can have clothes custom made. And then it costs more.
Yeah, there is a cost issue.
When you got H&M, where you can go get slightly fashion-forward gear for $15, $20, the average person isn't even accustomed to having their clothes tailored once they buy them off the rack. So to have something custom made is like a whole another thing you gotta try to fathom. It's just not coming to most people. They don't even know it's available to them.
So I guess it is more of an American thing where they don't understand custom the same way as other race or groups. Because in London they totally get it. Africans totally get it. There are other races, I'm sure, that totally get custom-made stuff. It's not necessarily an American thing, and I think if it is an American thing, then it was mostly men who were hard to fit.